Shalom, shalom, everyone. I am Ayana. I am your facilitator, and today we are going to talk about your testimony, a witness of your relationship with YHUH. But first, as always, I would like to thank these people so very much for donating and for helping to support the channel, helping to propel the channel forward. It is my sincere hope that everyone listening to this video is getting good information, good scriptural information, and that you would be motivated to also contribute. And if you don't want to contribute financially, you can also support the channel by clicking on the like button and also by subscribing to the channel. We do have two avenues for donations. The first one is through PayPal, and it's our email address, YHUHderek@mail.com, and also through CashApp, which is $YHUHderek. We also have a digital download store. And it's through shoply.com/YHUHderek. And we have all kinds of information to help you understand scripture better. So please support in one of those ways, your financial donations, subscribing, liking the video. I greatly appreciate it. So let's move on. All right. So a little background. I want to talk about giving your testimony. Because I actually, there's a couple of things that happened in the last few weeks that had me thinking very deeply about testimonies. And so I want to go over it today and talk about your testimony, our testimonies, what it is, what it does, and why it's important. So we're going to start off, as always, with a scriptural understanding of testimony, and that word is YHUH. YHUH. You can find it in Strong's H5715. It is a testimony. It is the word YHUH refers specifically to the Ten Commandments, and it is also a revelation of what was in the past, something that took place in the past, right? So the Ten Commandments are an YHUH, a testimony of Yahuwah's law that he passed down to Moshe and to be applied for all of Yasharel. Those two tablets are a testimony. All right. Another word, Adah, Strong's H5708 through 5713. It is a witness, an appointed time or meeting. It is from this word, Adah, that you get mu'ed, or as some people say with vowel pointing, moed, appointed times. You can find that word there. Adah also means ornaments, jewelry, bracelets, things like that. YHUH, H5749 through 5751. It means to turn back or return, or to say over and over and over again. So YHUH, Adah, YHUH, these are all witnesses and testimonies that are repeated over and over again. With regard to the Ten Commandments, the actual physical plates, you go and read it, it says it over and over again. No matter how many times you go and look at it and you go and see it, it's a witness and it repeats itself over and over again, right? So is a witness. They testify to something that they saw, and they repeat it. They say it over and over again in front of witnesses. And all of this leads to the root word aid, H5703 through 5707, a testimony of time moving forward into eternity. To bear witness, carrying thoughts, laws, or revelations beyond what is apparent and towards something that can't be seen. So, if you are talking about the witness of, for example, Noah, Nuke, the witness of him being in the ark, the testimony of that, the witness is the rainbow of Yahuwah's promise that he would never um, he would never do to the earth and all the people on it like he did in the flood, right? So that rainbow is a promise of his word, Yahweh's word that he gave in the past. And every time you see a rainbow, because it is a witness, it is a signal, it is a sign, and it's every time you see it, it reminds you over and over and over again of what that means. All right, so essentially, a testimony describes a momentous event where the outcome of that event changes the circumstances of a person, of a place, of a situation, whatever, into the future. So that change is permanent. So the person, or let's just take a person, the person, they're going along in life, something happened. It is a momentous thing happens, and then they're changed forever. That is the essence of a testimony. All right. So now that we have a scriptural understanding of testimony, I wanted to talk about a personal thing. Two instances happened that led me to make this video. The first and primary one was a correspondence that I received from a couple, a beautiful couple, wonderful people, hardworking, great people. But I reached out to them in the email, and the reply that I got back was that they no longer believed in YHUH. And the wife of the couple, she conveyed to me all of her reasons, and all of the research that her and her husband had done. And I was very surprised and shocked at first. But the reason that they had changed their minds about YHUH and scripture is because she said that in doing their research, they could not find historical evidence for some of the things that took place that's written about in scripture, right? And then she said there were some other parts of scripture, other like quotes or other verses that were found in like books of philosophers and playwrights and things like that. And so that led her and her husband to believe that the scripture is not real, and that because they couldn't find evidence, physical evidence that scripture was real, that they did not believe in scripture and they no longer believed in YHUH. Now, I did reply, and I said, well, you can't really depend on like physical historical evidence because, number one, there's so many, every time there's so many instances of burning of libraries or burning of books or burning of records. For example, probably the most famous one is when the Greeks came in to Egypt and they burned the library in Alexandria, which was a huge library. They burnt all of their history, they burnt all of their scriptures, they burnt all of everything, right? And they took over. That has happened several times all over the earth, to get rid of the history so that the victors can replace it. And so that, to me, is not evidence enough to stop believing in YHUH. As far as passages being changed in scripture, we know that. We know that men have changed scripture. It says it within scripture itself. The Pharisees and the scribes changed it to their laws and not YHUH's laws. And that was the whole thing that Yahusha went through when he confronted the Pharisees and the Sadducees and the Herodians and the scribes, right? But overall, the whole interaction just really, it really saddened me. My heart was very sad. I was actually a little bit depressed because, they are such great people. They still are really good people. They're hardworking. And it just, it just, it just broke my heart, really. Um, and I thought about it for a long time. I still think about it. I thought about it, and one of the things that the revelation came to me was that everything that the wife said was based on intellect. It was not based on spirit, right? And the revelation came to me that they really didn't have a personal testimony of Yahuwah, not based on scripture, like an interaction with Yahuwah, just them and him. And, I still pray for this couple. And I would ask that you pray for this couple. I won't name them or anything, but just the couple that I spoke to that have left Yahuwah, just please pray for them, that Yahuwah reveals to them him, and that he places himself within their heart and within their spirit. So when you're giving a testimony, it's not a testimony of knowledge of scripture, right? You do need to know scripture. I'm not negating scripture at all. But what it is, Yahuwah tells us that it has to do with your heart. It has to do with your spirit. And we'll go over a couple of verses, but I wanted to go over this because even with people who don't necessarily believe in Yahuwah, when there is a genuineness of heart, Yahuwah will consider the matter. So let's take a look at Bereshith chapter 20, verses 1 through 6. And Abraham journeyed from there toward the south country, and dwelled between Kadesh and Shur, and sojourned in Gerar. And Abraham said to Sarah his wife, said of Sarah his wife, she is my sister. And Abimelech, king of Gerar, sent, and he took Sarah. Took means he seized her, right? He took her by force, not of her own will. But YHUH came to Abimelech and in a dream by night, and said to him, behold, you are but a dead man for the woman you have taken, for she is a man's wife. But Abimelech had not come near her, meaning he hadn't had sex with her. He didn't ravish her or anything like that. And he said, I'm going to say YHUH. The verse doesn't say YHUH, but I'm going to say YHUH. He does not necessarily believe in Yahuwah. YHUH, will you also slay a righteous nation? Didn't he, meaning Abraham, say to me, she is my sister? And she, even she herself said, he is my brother. In the integrity of my heart and the innocency of my hands did I do this. And YHUH, which is Yahuwah, said to him in a dream, yes, I know that you did this in the integrity of your heart, for I also withheld you from sinning against me. Therefore, I didn't allow you to touch her. So this is a man who's not even following Yahuwah. This is a man, Gerar. I don't know if this early in scripture if Gerar is occupied by Philistines, but it is one of the cities of the Philistines, right? I don't know if they were there during Abraham's time, but Gerar is the city of the Philistines. So this is a man who does not believe in Yahuwah. This is a man who did what he normally does, but he did it based off of what Abraham and Sarah said. So he was not found guilty. And Yahuwah knew that, even though this man did not worship Yahuwah, but he knew that what had happened was true, and that it was not, he didn't do it by falsehood. So Yahuwah said, that's why I kept you from going near her, right? Abimelech had not come near her. I kept you from sinning against me. Therefore, I didn't allow you to touch her. Now, the story goes on, and Yahuwah tells Abimelech, you better go give her back to Abraham, and Abraham will pray for you, and it'll be all good. And it turns out by the end of the chapter, he confronts Abraham, which is like, hey, what you doing? you trying to, why would you do this to me? What did I do to you that you would cause me to falter like that? And Abraham says, oh, I was afraid that you would kill me just to get her. So, I said that, but she really is my sister. Sarah's actually Abraham's half sister. They have the same father, but different mothers. And so the king, he gives like 1,000 pieces of silver. And he tells her he tells Sarah, this 1,000 pieces, it should be a veil. Back then, a veil, married women wore veils to indicate that they were married. Not a veil over your face, but a veil over your head, right? And so he says, this should be enough to get you and everybody get you a veil so everybody can see that this man's wife, right? And then after Abraham prays for him, YHUH, he opens up the wombs of Abimelech's people, right? Because YHUH closed up the wombs because Abimelech took Sarah by force. So even in this case, with a man who does not worship YHUH, the man who does not have any connection to YHUH, even when he did things right, and it was not his fault, even that person, because of his heart, YHUH did not punish him. And that's the whole point. It's a matter of the heart. Right? So let's look at some verses. Testimony comes from the heart, not the mind. All right. Thahalium 44:21. Shall not YHUH search this out, for he knows the secrets of the heart. The Baram 36. And YHUH, your YHUH, will circumcise your heart and the heart of your descendants, to love YHUH, your YHUH, with all your heart and all your soul, that you may live, right? Not just live as in a normal course of life, but live as in forever when the time comes. 1 Shamuel 16:7. But YHUH said to Shamuel, don't look at his appearance or his height, because I have refused him. For YHUH doesn't see as men see. For men look at the outward appearance, but YHUH looks on the heart. 1 Malachiam 8 verses 57 and 58. YHUH are Alayanu, are YHUH, collectively. Be with us as he was with our fathers. Let him not leave us nor forsake us, that he may incline our hearts to him, to walk in his direct, to walk in his ways, right? And to keep his commandments and his statutes and his judgments, which he commanded our fathers. So, YHUH is all about the heart, your heart and your spirit. That is your testimony. That's the content of your testimony. It is not scripture. Again, I am not saying scripture is not necessary. Scripture is very necessary. It contains the history of YHUH with Yasharel. It contains his commandments. It contains lessons and all types of things, praises and everything. But what I'm saying is, if someone were to take the scripture book away, which have been done in the past, right? Physically, take the scripture book away. What is your testimony if you don't have that book? Reading scripture does not necessarily reach people's minds and hearts, but your testimony, your lived experience with YHUH is what will reach out to people. And so I would like to do a small testimony. Those of you who have been with this channel for a long time, I used to have a lot of testimonies recorded, just personal testimonies of YHUH. I will just do a small one now. When I was in my 20s and I had my children, as most of you know, My children, when they were younger, my son is autistic, and my daughter was a medically fragile premature baby. And in my 20s, I not only I had to take my son to therapy and my daughters to doctors, I worked full time, and it was a time of very, very high, constant, chronic stress. And because of that, I would have acid reflux because I was always worried, stressed out, and things. And I had begun to have the habit of eating a bowl of vanilla ice cream before I went to bed because of the acid reflux, right? And it did help. It does help. At least it helped me. So one night I was very, very, very tired. The children were already in bed. I was getting ready to go to bed, and I did, and I was in a deep sleep because I was just so tired. Back in those days, I was very, very tired, and I was in a very deep sleep. Unbeknownst to me, the reflux, and this is how deep my sleep was, the acid reflux came up in my throat and began to fill my lungs. I did not know that. But in the dead of my sleep, I heard YHUH say, and I quote, "Ayana, get up." I sprang forth from laying down to a sitting position on my bed. And when I mean sprang forth, I sprang forth at his command. And I began coughing and sputtering and coughing and just coughing up. It took me about 30 to 45 minutes to finally cough out all of that, the acid reflux, the reflux into my lungs. But as sure as I'm living and breathing, YHUH saved my life that night. I would have died. I would have asphyxiated from the reflux of my stomach that went into my lungs. Nobody was in that room but YHUH first and me asleep, and I was unconscious. And nobody, I don't care. They can outlaw scripture, they can outlaw whatever. I'm telling you this day that YHUH is real. That's not even my only account of him saving my life. But YHUH is real. And I will never forget that as long as I live. Ever. I heard him clearly. Even in the dead of my sleep, I responded to his command, and he saved me. That is nowhere in Scripture. But I listened to my Father's voice. That's what YHUH said to Yasharel. If you will listen to my voice and follow my commandments. I heard his voice. And that is my testimony. That comes straight from my heart, straight from my spirit. And YHUH will always be my Alua for all my days until he deems my days over. That is it for me. So let's talk about your testimony. The second account that made me want to do this video was a brother. He told me about his testimony, the things that he suffered, the family and the people that he lost. And it was a very good testimony. And I thought about that for many, many days. I thought about what he said. And I told him that his testimony, he had a great testimony. So whatever testimony, whatever experiences that you have with YHUH, experience that nobody can deter you from, that nobody can tell you, oh, no, that's not true, that all the way down to your guts, all the way in your spirit, all the way in your heart, without a shadow of a doubt. Your testimony is a witness to all who hear it. It's a testimony of the changes you have made in your heart and your spirit after you have encountered YHUH. Your life, how you live it, and how you treat people is an ongoing witness of the power of YHUH changing you and choosing you to be one of his people, and how he has made you and your life better. Your testimony cannot be found physically or in anything material. It is a living testimony. It cannot be taken away or destroyed by men or evil spirits. Your testimony is recorded by YHUH in the Shamayim. But if YHUH is not in your heart, if you don't have an experience with YHUH, if your relationship is not close enough with YHUH, if you can't sit here and say with a certainty that YHUH is, and that YHUH exists, and that YHUH is the creator and the father and our master and the one who sustains us and the one who gives to us and the one who protects us and the one who provides for us and the one who just keeps going and who is forever, then your testimony will not stand. You have to have that instance, that moment, that something that YHUH did for you. You heard him when he called you. You heard him when he did this or did that. You have to have that, because that will be that to testify to other people, but it will also be that same thing that you use to edify yourself when times are hard. And believe me, I've had hard times. It is a witness not only to other people, but it is a witness for yourself. And it is my prayer that you never, ever walk away from YHUH and his truth. It is my prayer that you draw closer to YHUH and YHUH draw closer to you. So, this concludes this video. As always, if you would like to contact me, I could be reached at YHUHderek at mail.com. Please do not put Gmail. I will not get that. It's just mail.com. All right. May YHUH baruch you with deep understanding. May YHUH speak to you and tell you the things that will bring you closer to him. May YHUH protect you and provide for you. May YHUH keep you and your family. And may YHUH guide you throughout your life so that you can be a witness for him, his namesake, for Yahusha, for his scriptures. And I ask this all in YHUH's name, our Alua, through Yahusha HaMashiach. Hallelujah.